There's the music. It's the human factor, man. You just kind of forget to hit the buttons.
Hey, they know that we're not faking it that way.
They know we're not faking. Hey, so this is Chris. That's Mike. This is the Chris and Mike Show. Today, we have a very cool guest on the show. His name is Jeremy Cross. He's a writer. He's an author, which is one and the same, but not always. He's also a recovering addict. He's had a unique life, and we connected on a Facebook podcast page, and I invited him on the show. So here he is. So Jeremy, without further ado, kind of give us a little bit of who you are, what it's all about.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm Jeremy Cross.
Well,
I'm author of Finding My Lost Life, The Fall to Addiction and Rise to Recovery.
Nice.
I spent 7 years on the downtown east side when I moved from the small town in Langley to the big city of Vancouver.
Okay.
I had dreams, aspirations. I fell in love with somebody, which got me down there. And I got surrounded by the wrong people, made some bad errors in judgment, ended up getting into drugs and got involved in the dark side of the world. And I was in and out of jail for the last couple of years. I'm now a year and a half sober.
Right on. Good job.
Thank you.
Good job.
I started writing my book actually when I was incarcerated, January 2024. I got out in May 2024, and then I finished and published it.
Let me jump in here. When you were incarcerated, was it like a federal prison, or was it a county jail? Was it in Canada?
It was in Canada. I'm from Canada, Vancouver.
Okay. So I don't know anything about Canada's penal system and what it looks like. Is it anything like it is in America?
No, it's a lot softer. So we get like, yeah, we get TVs and
no shit.
Yeah.
Ice cream socials.
Sometimes, yeah, on weekends and holidays, yeah.
What the fuck?
They're the nicest people in the world, Chris Dunham. You were there.
I was there. Yeah. I was in Canada not too long ago, and they genuinely seemed like super nice humans. Like it didn't seem to be faked. It didn't seem to be polished, because everybody that we ran into was just like it was a small story. And so we can get back to your thing. We went to a store, right, to buy something. I bought some Canadian syrup, right, because you have to. And I gave him American money, and then he's explaining the change and stuff. He's like, and I would have given him too much, but he was like I said, just a nice human. He said, no, you got to do this, and there you go. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So, Americans, unfortunately, would take advantage of that, because most, not most, but there are those, one percenters that are just like, come on, man, just come on.
Yeah.
Okay. So
yeah.
Ironically,
Ironically, I've gone to the States because we're right by the border, into Washington.
Okay.
It's about a half hour from my house, and I've gone and gotten gas and paid with Canadian, and they charged me way too much. I didn't understand the currency, and then after I got past the border, and I called my mom. I'm like, man, just cost me like 100 Canadian to get like $40 gas, and she's like, oh, son, that's not right.
Okay, well, I want to apologize.
Terrible.
I want to apologize to you on behalf of the American that did that, because that's pretty messed up, man. We're not all like that. A lot of
You're
us
talking to two guys who would have said, no, you gave us way too much money, or we don't understand the conversion, so we don't want to screw you up, so we'll Google it now.
Yeah, you can use AI for everything.
Yeah.
But I don't condemn a whole group of people for one person's decisions.
I appreciate that.
I got a quick question. How old were you when you went in? So we can kind of get a...
And how old are you
now?
a
year and a half sober now, right?
Yeah, so I went in January 16th, 2024 is my sobriety date.
Okay.
But that was just my last stunt. I had issues getting involved in crime from 2020, and I was in and out. So what happens in Canada is you go to pre-trial center, it's called, We have 2 facilities in our lower mainland area, Surrey Pretrial Center and North Fraser Pretrial Center. And when you're there, you get credited 2.5 days per one. So a lot of people will try to like stay in pretrial centers so they get more credit for their days.
Okay.
And then that's when you'll either get bail. And then so that's what was happening when you're first time offender, which I had no criminal record going into Vancouver, but I went in with a bang. The judge kind of laughed. I mean, in my book, I talk about it. I got involved with people that were Canada's top most wanted for fraud.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I had my identity stolen, my bank accounts compromised, my $40,000 car stolen. The guy that I was involved with. Yeah, it was pretty rough, and he had a history with the VPD. I was obviously naive. I was being gaslit. I don't come from a family that has deception and fraud and criminal activities, so I was eaten alive down there when I got around these people, especially because they're predatorial. They know exactly what to look for, right?
I have those stories myself, man. Don't feel bad. When you grow up in a good environment and then you get thrown in the polar opposite, you just can't believe that people are like that. Just like Chris said, we apologize for that asshole because.
Yeah, honestly, that's why, like, when it's like, there's about 6 key events that happened that I write about in the book. And every time I was like just stunned, like no offense, but when you hear about these crazy stories, like everyone even that's read my book, they're like, oh my God, you hear about this stuff in the States. I'm like, oh no, we're just as bad. It just doesn't get talked about.
Okay.
Yeah, like in my book, that's not my perception. That's just what people globally have said.
Okay.
Like, I was involved. The beginning of my downfall, I was involved with a guy who I went and supported in AA thinking he just had an alcohol problem, not knowing he was a crystal meth addict. And it was my first, it was this epic romance. Like I was blinded. I was naive. It was my first thing doing this. We, lived together, joint accounts.
Right.
So, and
you were probably happy as hell. Like, this is amazing. This is
100%.
Right on. I found the guy, I found the life partner. This is going to be fantastic. We're going to build our little empire together, right? And it
goes to show, like, you get involved with someone who's broken, and I didn't know that he was broken. So when he proposed to me, and then a couple months later asked for an open relationship, which fucking crippled me. And then he relapsed on crystal meth, and given on where we were in our relationship, I would have done anything to have his attention and to be a part of it. And so when he said, let's do crystal meth together, I was like, okay, he wants to be with me. So I made that decision. He had escorting experience. Of course, we lost our jobs. I worked full-time chief operations at a Tallius Roll Shutters and Blinds Corporation. It was a multi-million-dollar company.
Oh, wow.
He was a contractor downtown. So we both lost our jobs. We needed money. He said, let's escort. So we started selling our bodies for money.
So when you say the dark side, man, you're talking the dark side.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm not laughing about it. I'm just saying, like we've heard dark, but it's dark. That's dark.
Yeah.
That's cool. So if you're just joining,
you took it a level beyond where I had the meth addiction. I never went down that road because
and that's just the tip of the iceberg.
All right. So again,
that's crazy, man.
If you're just joining in, this Jimmy Cross, writer, author. What's the name of your book again?
Finding My Lost Life: The Fall to Addiction and Rise to Recovery.
Finding My Lost Life. You can find it on Amazon and JeremyCross.com. Correct?
.ca.
Because you're in Canada, JeremyCross.ca. And this is the Chris and Mike Show, so don't forget to go on to Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, drop a review, give us a follow on all our platforms. And hey, Jeremy, you're one of the first person to hear this. Coming soon is the ChrisandMikeShow.com. What?
Everybody check it out.
We got a smoking deal.
We got a smoking deal. Now, I don't want you to give up like all the golden nuggets of your story, because I want people to go buy your book. Okay, so when we get done with our post production, we're going to put a link down underneath the show so people can click on the link and go directly to your website to buy your book. I'm going to buy it. Mike and I, we always buy the books of people that come on the show, because again, we have a history of addiction recovery, and you do too. That's why you're on here. So we all have our story, but yours is, like Chris said, you're willing to go the one step further that nobody else has, and that's fine. But it's just crazy
it's not only crazy to hear, for most people, they just can't even imagine. So I find it fascinating that you're willing to share that side of your story, man.
And I want to ask you one question, because we didn't get this out of when you started seeing this guy. How old were you?
24.
Okay, and how old are you now?
31.
Okay, so we have a 6 year. We got 6 years of chaos.
7.
Seven.
Yeah.
Okay, 7 years of chaos. Okay, so when you were just talking about how you went down the path of selling your body. So how old were you when that started?
25.
Okay, so 25-year-old walking down the streets of Vancouver, selling your booty. Take it away, Jeremy.
Yeah, so I strongly am against that. Like, I have a huge respect, obviously, for the sex trade and the people in it.
Right.
But morally, I was taught, and I don't agree with sharing my body unorganically and putting a price on sex and the experience you can create. I'm not morally okay with that.
Right.
If it wasn't for like doing crystal meth every day, I probably wouldn't. It wouldn't have been sustainable for me.
Sure.
But then my partner kind of was so in Canada we have websites like Leo's List, Rent Boys, where you create an account, you put photos, you describe, and people just text you, call you, and that's how the business goes. I did all that, and he was someone who's not a functioning addict, so like he just was like disintegrating before me. So we had a deal, like, we're only going to do duo, but then clients started only wanting to pay for me, and then I was going and doing it, and he was collecting the money, so it became like a pimp situation.
Wow.
So
Not
then
good.
I started to have a problem. Yeah, it was really awkward. I'm like, okay, so you're my pimp now. Like, how did I get here?
Wow.
Yeah.
You went from
But then when you get home, you're together again.
Yeah.
Or when the person leaves, or however you were doing it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And then
let me ask a question real quick before you go further down this rabbit hole. So you started out as a duo, like you said, which in my mind would be good, because then you have somebody back and like got your back, right?
Yeah.
Right. So you're not going into this environment alone. So then when he decides to just become the pimp daddy, then you're going into these environments by yourself with nobody like got your back, right?
Yeah.
How freaky was that?
I like at that point, my heart was so broken. Like when he asked for an open relationship before we even he relapsed, and I did it. I knew in my heart he wasn't going to be the guy that I was going to marry. So I stayed, even though I knew, because I didn't want to lose my life. I didn't want to go back to my mom's in Langley. I wasn't doing that. So I stayed. I feel like I betrayed love and love betrayed me, and so I was so numb at this point.
Yeah,
like it was the.
That was
the money was good.
That was a
That's
nice
the other
line,
thing,
man. That was a nice
well
line.
said.
Yeah, very well said. So people understand, because I don't. How big of a town is Vancouver compared to Langley? Because I'm thinking there's a big difference there.
Yeah, big difference. Like Langley's
I wanted to know that same piece of information.
Yeah, I mean it's expanding now, but Vancouver is like it's like Toronto. It's Toronto's bigger, but it's got all the high rises. It's big. It's a whole little mini island if you look at the map.
Million people, 2 million people.
Any idea what the population?
I'd say close to 1 million. It's pretty like there's a lot of people there. Yeah, it's big.
And then
trying to compare it to somewhere in the States.
Texas,
it looks like New York. Of course, New York is like you can't compare but as far as high rises go and like the subway and like it's got the vibe of New York, of course. But
706,000.
How much?
706,000. So we were close, almost a million.
And then what's the size of Langley? Is that a small town?
I can't Google it, but yeah, It's funny because I just went to the city council meeting the other day. I'm meeting the mayor.
For Langley?
Yeah, we can get into that
after. That's like a full circle thing. That's kind of cool, right? You're gonna do some educating.
Yeah, like my main message and goal, like from sharing my story, is to change the narrative that being like a lot of people are ashamed or they're embarrassed by their past and their addiction. Like a lot of people don't admit that you're an addict. Like that's a problem, which then they don't get the help that they need. So by me sharing on a global level, like I want to empower people to be like, listen, this shit is real. We're in an opiate crisis. We're in a mental health crisis around the world.
Yep.
And like that's my goal is to see it like I want to do a TV book adaptation. I'd like to have a Netflix series to create to reach a larger audience and educate. and spread awareness, like that,
Oh, yeah.
like the stuff is happening. I mean, I also had a client. This is the second before I got into the second person, who was a billionaire. And this is the other thing, also on a side note, that really kind of
Okay.
screwed my mind, is because a lot of what society thinks is people that do drugs are losers, they're drains.
Right.
But and the cover of my book, like that's why I made it like this.
Yeah.
So that was before I got
awesome.
hooked on fentanyl.
Okay.
But I still look good. I still had I had a condo, I had a car, I had nice
Yeah.
things. Like I
Yeah.
was doing good. And I had clients that were politicians, lawyers, doctors.
Oh, of course.
Like, and so like in my mind, and I would kind of argue with my mom. I'm like, well, I don't know. I got high proper citizens that are paying me thousands for my time
Yeah.
and doing drugs with me and then returning to their families.
Right.
So that kind of messed up my mind, but
I could
it's
see that.
just yeah, like I really screwed with what it was right, what was wrong. It really questioned everything. But I had a client that was a billionaire client, who it turned out, and I write about this in my book too, that he bought an 8 and a 10-year-old.
Oh, fuck me.
Like that there was
Holy
child
shit.
stuff going on.
Oh.
And I got approached by a gang who found out on the street that this woman who was a crackhead sold her kids to a billionaire.
Wow.
And it ended up being my client that I found out, which was horrible.
That's really
Like
like
this
and
shit
so
is
like
this shit's
Jeff-
happening.
Crazy.
So like Jeffrey Epstein type shit with the little
Oh
kid.
yeah.
Oh fuck
Yeah.
that, man.
Yeah,
His
like there were
town-
so many things.
His town is 28,963 people.
Okay,
So that's
yeah,
quite.
so,
That's
yeah.
like me going from here to when I moved to. Well, Phoenix was
Yeah.
a little bit bigger, but
Okay.
it's the
Yeah.
same culture shock.
Yeah. Mike lives in Pontiac.
I live in a
Illinois.
small. I
live
grew up in a
Arizona.
small town.
Right.
I moved back here, so it's
Right.
we have parallel stories in that respect.
Mm.
I moved from here to Chicago and then here to Phoenix. So
Well, and there's more
people-
color, more culture, more acceptance. You know, it's the vibe, right? It's energetic. It's where the dream you go to the big city to get your dreams, right? Like that was the goal.
Sure. I had the same dream. I wanted to be a rock star, and that's how I know Chris. We formed a band together, so
Sick. I've always
know-
wanted to be a pop star one day.
we wanted to be rock stars, but you know, we would have settled for selling anything that would have paid the bills. So
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
admire anybody that does that.
Our opening song, Jeremy, is a song that Mike and I wrote called Free Man. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to. I work at Together We Can Recovery and Education Center, and we have a staff there that does like the beats and the DJ board.
Oh,
And I'm like,
cool.
man, we should do like an Eminem song, like like "Dear Fellow Addict," and have like the first chorus someone who's in addiction, and then have the second chorus someone who's out of addiction,
Nice.
and just kind of like have it like that struggle to like come to the top of the hill where it's beautiful up here, like
Yeah.
you know, yeah,
That's cool.
some ideas.
That's a good idea. Right on. Hey, so again, if you just joined us, this is Jeremy Cross. He is an author of I keep forgetting the name of your book. Tell me again.
Finding My Lost Life.
Finding My Lost Life. I don't know why I can't remember that. JeremyCross.ca. Finding My Lost Life. It's all about rediscovering, finding himself, his road to recovering, the chaos that ensued prior to that. And then also don't forget to find us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, The Christian Mike Show. So we've gone down the path of being an escort, and your boyfriend turned into a pimp daddy. So how did that dynamic play out? Because obviously at some point in time you fractured that relationship, probably out of sheer survival, I would think.
Yeah, like his mental state was going to like we had to leave the condo that we shared with two other guys. We had to downgrade. I asked my mom for help. She helped pay for the deposit on a new smaller one, which in my mind then I'm like, okay, it's like my family helped it. Like it should
Right.
be like respect that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But he like was losing his mind and getting jealous and just like he was getting frustrated. We ended up coming to like fights, and he ended up stealing my car and crashing it in the alleyway, throwing my
Oh.
clothes out the window.
Oh fuck.
Like he was I mean, it was my first instance with a narcissist too. I had no
Yeah.
idea what I was doing, and so like he turned against me, and luckily he ended up taking my name, going to the landlord, taking my name illegally and fraudulently off our agreement, and installed a new guy. I found out. I threatened the landlord. I said, I'm going to take you to small claims. Like I didn't authorize this. You
Right.
just broke a legal document. So he then had another apartment building he owned, and so he on Barclay Street. So he said, "Listen, I'll put you in a studio over there. Let's
Okay.
just." And I was like, "All right, cool." And that was the end. And then that guy ended up stealing, like I did all the business stuff. I did the emailing, all the communications. He stole the email and not like so I had no client list, nothing. I had to start from scratch.
Oh.
And that ended that one.
I can see that.
Yeah.
That was it. See you later. Bye.
Yeah. And then, I got my own place. I started doing it alone. I was like, that's the cover of my book. And by the way, I get a lot of controversy from people being like, whoa, the cover makes no sense. And I'm like, actually, the reason I chose that cover is because I literally wanted it to be a message. Don't judge a book by its cover, because I was the most unhealthy, the most unhappy, most unsafe. But just because I looked from the outside, like, don't judge. You have no idea what somebody's going through, right?
Exactly.
And coming from a fellow artist, I've been a musician since I was 10 years old. I read the back of your book. I looked at the cover, just so I had a little bit of an idea of what you were about. That's what I got out of that cover.
Oh, cool.
After reading the back of your book and knowing you went from basically what I went from, the worst point a person could be in, to trying to be positive and helping the world to see that there's hope and light and, Then I look back at your cover again and I'm like, okay, I get it, right?
Cool.
But not everybody's going to get that.
Yeah,
I understand it. So I'm glad you brought that up. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So again, it's Finding My Lost Life, The Fall and Rise, the fall to addiction and the rise to recovery. Jeremy Cross, jeremycross.ca. Go check it out. We're talking to him today. He's sharing all the intimate details about his chaotic life.
And how I got out of it.
So
how did you go from that to ending up in the criminal justice system?
Okay, so then the second person I met, he was the one, I think the fifth most wanted. He did a huge real estate fraud, identity fraud.
Shit.
Yeah, like I was
so
rolling
like his
around.
face is on the wall in every, whatever you guys call it, like the highest
Fraud
authorities.
Squad knows, Gang Squad knows him. Like, they're well known.
Okay.
Again, I had no idea. I didn't know any of the history, and nobody, of course, will say anything around me.
Was he the same age as you? Older, younger?
A couple years older, yeah.
Okay,
because
but basically the same age.
You're still 24, 25 years old at this time, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, and his DOC was fentanyl, and I didn't even know what fentanyl was at this time. Right. I just knew that, like, we would do crystal together, and then
Let me ask you this real quick from a fellow recovering addict who I did drugs to see how many I could do, not just for fun. How do you do fentanyl recreationally without fucking killing yourself?
Well, you can't. If I went and did it right now, because I'm not, my system's at zero. It's, I overdose. You overdose. Like, I overdosed the first time I was introduced to it. He
How much
purposefully
did it take for that
me.
to happen? Give people an idea.
It depends how strong the dope is. Like, the people that are cooking it, when you get fentanyl, you mix it with calf and a type of sugar, and you mix it together, and then you can add food coloring to make it a certain color.
Sure.
But based on the potency of the amount of fentanyl and the calf, some people obviously on the streets, they look for dope that drops them, right? So depending on the potency and how good the cook is, because you just have these gangsters that are cooking it like in their backyard or in their the kitchen. Like, it's called on the street, it's called down. You can't smoke fentanyl straight up, you'll die. So they mix it with these other two things, and it's called down.
Okay. So that's what to look out for sure.
Down, yeah. Like, if I was to go, if anyone was to go and like try to do fentanyl, or which I highly recommend against it, you'd say, "Can I get some
boys and girls?"
No, not at all. Like in Vancouver, they
I
like
want
crystal
the
meth.
opposite. I want people to understand how little of this it could potentially take to kill your loved one.
And it's not even fentanyl now. Now there's two other, and now they mix benzos in it. There's another that literally destroys, like, eats your lungs from the inside. I can't remember what it's called. It's a type of down.
I heard at one point in time they were mixing elephant tranquilizer with it.
That's Trank. Yeah, that's what it's called. Trank.
There you go. Look at
Trank is
Chris Dunham for the win.
10 points to Gryffindor.
To the guy that's never touched it.
Yeah.
Right,
so
me
like,
neither. This is way beyond anything I ever did. Meth was popular right about the time that I was at the lowest point in my life. So that was the last drug that I ever was addicted to.
Yeah, well, fentanyl, like, so what happened was I ended up having 30 grand of cash in my safe. I had Telus alarm systems. Like, I had a lot of nice things before the second person came into my life.
Mm.
I was his mark. He used and abused. He wanted me to spend the money. Like, so I didn't know what fentanyl was. He would do a certain drug with the crystal meth and he'd become a fucking monster. He'd steal my wallet. He'd disappear. He was a
Wow.
totally different person. His whole persona changed. He
Oh
was
yeah.
a fucking monster and would steal from me. And so then I started to learn what it was. I was told by some other people. So I banned it from my house. I said, "You're not
Mm.
doing fentanyl up here. I don't want you around me." He knew I had money in my safe, so he purposefully overdosed me on fentanyl, mixed it
Oh,
with crystal meth in a shot that we did. Died, woke up in the hospital, and I was instantly attached, like I was hooked on fentanyl the next day.
damn.
Holy shit.
And so that
Damn.
was my introduction to fentanyl.
Wow. So this is the guy after the guy
Yeah,
that you were hoping that, live happily ever after.
yeah.
That's
So
heavy,
then,
man.
so
Yeah.
how did you connect with guy number two?
He sought me out, like in the escort world, like especially in the gay escort world, it's a
Okay.
pretty like tight knit community,
Okay.
and I didn't know, like having nice. I mean, I dress nice by nature, or whatever. I
Mm-hmm.
have a nice car.
Yeah.
I'm not someone who was egotistical or I broadcasted it. Like I had good style, but I'd walk down the Davy Street or in Name Street, but that I didn't know that catches people's attention,
Ah.
and then they want to know about you. They want to know where you are, and you're a mark.
Oh,
And
okay.
so I was obviously got told to this group of people,
Mm-hmm.
these fraudsters,
Yeah.
and they implanted one mastercraftedly, got me all fucking wonky and gaslit, and still I didn't know anything about this
Wow.
world. And nobody around me would get involved. They all pretended not to know anything because they were so worried that the gays would go on them because they knew who he was and I didn't.
Oh. Oh.
So
Okay.
That's
nobody around me
crazy.
would say anything, and so I was
But they all
isolated.
knew.
They all fucking knew. He's been in Vancouver for a decade.
Wow.
He's well known by the VPD, which is why he had me in the right place at the right time. Like when we started doing fraud, after he frauded me for a year and a half that we were dating that I didn't know, when I started to become educated and I became more of a problem to him, he would threaten to go after my mom and
Uh,
dad's bureau. So I had to learn. I called Anti-Fraud Canada and like I started to pay attention to like what they were doing so I could protect myself.
sure.
Um, and then, yeah, like when fentanyl came in, the money was gone. He sold my wardrobe, my $40,000 car. He stole, hit a woman, fled the scene. I went to go
Wow.
pick up my car at the tow yard. They told me I'm no longer the owner because I defaulted on a $15,000 equity loan a month
Oh.
prior, which he went and got in my
I was
name.
gonna say you probably had no idea.
So you
No
found all
idea.
this out as you got to these places and
Oh,
oh
yeah.
man.
Yeah, no, it was fucked.
How
That's
was that?
terrible. Oh, yeah.
How was that
Yeah.
day? I mean, you talk about bad days. How was that day? You wake up like, oh, it's another day in the neighborhood, and then you realize, oh shit, it's not my
Your
car
stomach
anymore
feels a
because-
whole lot
yeah.
different, right?
Oh, I fucking dropped to my knees. Like I knew instantly at this point I knew what was going on. Like I knew what he was involved in and capable of. So I fucking knew exactly like right away. I just dropped and cried
That sucks,
and just
man.
like couldn't believe it. So then at that point I had no car now. I couldn't afford my rent. He already like sold everything I had. I ended up now on the street. And
Wow.
I was still so mind fucked that I like believe, and he told me the right things. He knew my buttons. He knew what to say. He knew what not to say.
Not to
And
interrupt you, but
he,
real quick, this happened like overnight. You went from being set up, you got money in your safe, in the bank, you got a nice car, you're doing okay. You know that you're gonna live month to month. Was this like overnight? This guy did this to you?
It was like about a year like that. But this harsh stuff was like, yeah,
Yeah.
within weeks. It was like boom, boom, boom,
Holy
boom, boom.
shit!
Wow.
Yeah.
So you went
Yeah.
from living comfortably to now I'm on the street basically within a month.
Yeah, it was like, well, within a couple months, like, but it was things after things, like the wardrobe things would go missing, the money would go
That's
Oh,
missing.
still-
gotcha. Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
still
it
an
was
incredibly
dramatic.
short amount of time to go from, okay, I'm doing fine, I'm living like a normal human being, contributing, whatever. I got money. I'm
Well,
not
and
being a
and
problem.
independent.
Now I'm living
Yeah,
on the
like I was
street.
good. Yeah, like I was good in my mind.
Sure.
Even though I
Sure.
still was doing crystal meth and selling my body, but I felt like I was in a good place, even though it
Okay.
was a delusion, whatever, of course. But yeah, as soon as he came in and implanted himself, and like I just like now looking back, of course, even when I sat in jail. I mean, so this is when I really truly found out when he set me up. So I'm on the street now. I had no car. I got nothing.
Right.
He told me that we could be together. I can't be on the streets, Jeremy. I was like, oh, you motherfucker. Like, you're the reason I'm on the street.
Right.
But he's like, if you go get a car. So he gave me an ID, a driver's license that looked like me. He told me to go into BMW. I stupidly went and did it. I had the fraud squad, gang squad. I had helicopters. I was pinned as this giant kingpin in fraud.
Wow.
He had me, yeah, he ratted me out. And then I went to jail for the first time. That's why the
He
judge
ratted
said, wow,
you out?
yeah, he set it all up.
Dude, I could totally see the way you explained that. That's a scene in a movie like you talked about earlier. And that
Totally.
I could just like wow. Wow, dude, that's insane.
And it was when I got into jail.
Dick.
Yeah, it was when I got into jail that the inmates around me were like, dude, like, you don't know what you're in, do you? And I was like, no. And then I started to get educated. That was so the judge said, wow, he's got no criminal record, but he's really going in with a bang. Like theft over 45,000, impersonation. Like the BMW is 45K.
Okay,
and I
right.
successfully bought it, insured it. Yeah, it was like 21 counts of fraud. It was crazy.
Wow.
Plus, he gave me a backpack with bank stamps, credit cards, and checks that I was supposed to go pick him up with the new car to go do a score. And he gave me the bag, and I'm like, why would I take the bag? Like, why don't you take it? And I'll get, like, why would I?
So
and of course,
he totally set. Wow. Okay, so do you still talk to this guy?
He's at large. He still has warrants. I changed the identities for legal reasons in my book and stuff like that. But I like now that I'm cleaning up my life, like since that accident in 2019. So that woman that he hit, obviously filed, did a claim.
Sure.
There's $21,000 worth of debt from that incident with tickets and insurance issues.
Right.
And the ICBC which is our insurance place here, said like, listen, like this debt stands. So I had to fill out an impersonation package with the VPD, which is now in motion. I'm waiting to hear back. I'm hoping because I can prove that I wasn't driving.
Oh yeah.
And then hopefully then that 21K will go. But I had to name him and his date of birth. I had to say I knew who it was. So officially I've now reported it on record.
Good. Good job.
That's awesome.
I hope he gets what,
Absolutely.
Like I'm more like, I'm not the first and I'm not going to be the last. So that was the whole reason why I wanted to write this book. Like, holy fuck, like I want people to know if you're going to go down this rabbit hole or you're in this rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Hopefully this book, like you can hear about it. It circulates like that people are capable of this.
Yep.
Like just watch your back, know what you're in.
Right.
Because it happens so quick.
So quick.
And these people in Vancouver know exactly who they're looking for. They know exactly the target. So yeah, like
and you fit that bill. So again, this is Jeremy Cross, jeremycross.ca, Finding My Lost Life, The Fall to Addiction and the Rise to Recovery. Look, I got it right that time.
I'm so proud of you.
Me too, buddy.
Thank you. So in 2019, when you get incarcerated with a bang. So what was your sentencing? How much time did you actually do? Is it kind of like America where you get sentenced for this, but then you can get paroled early?
That was my first 6. So yeah, I was in pretrial, I think, for like 2 months.
Okay. Just so American listeners understand, is pretrial kind of like being just a county jail?
Okay, so when you get arrested, you go to city cells, it's called, which is the Vancouver overnight. You stay there. They give you a Cliff Bar and a fruit to go disgusting stick every 4 hours. That's all you get until you're there. It's fucking freezing down there, and you're going through withdrawal and everything for 24 hours. You have to see a judge via on the TV. It's all done in the basement there. Right. You either get bail or you don't. And so if you get remanded, they take you to North Fraser or Surrey to hold you until you get another bail date or you get sentenced. So of course I was on disability, so I had a government lawyer and he said, listen, you're better to plead guilty to all the charges, even though I'm like, well, but like, and he's like, that it'll take 1.5 years. You'll sit in pretrial center until trial if you don't plead guilty. But if you plead guilty, because it's your first time offense, we'll give you 6 months. So I would just do that. Otherwise, you're going to sit here for 1.5 years waiting for trial on a non-guilty plea.
Oh.
So that's how it works here with.
Interesting.
So you're better off. You're gonna like if you want to get out and you're not like worried about a record. And at that point, I didn't give a shit. I thought I was gonna die a junkie. I was like, get me out of here.
Right.
So that
like,
was
I'm fucking
actually
mad.
legitimate advice. You did the 6 months instead of waiting a year and a half like any normal person would, right? As long as that was on. That's what ended up happening. You just served the first 6 months.
So they basically you get a day and a half while you're in pretrial, or 2 days, sorry, credit. So you want to like you tell your lawyer like stretch out. I don't want a bail hearing. I don't want anything. And then when you go to sentencing, I got sentenced, and they have to take you out of pretrial because you're not going to trial, and they put you into a different one, which is called Fraser Correctional Center, and that's you still have TVs and stuff like that. Like it's
and ice cream socials.
It's not the pen. We do have the pen.
Okay, what's the so the pen like meaning penitentiary?
Yeah, that like the hardcore. Yeah,
okay, so you do have that.
We do have it. That's if you get a sentence over 2 years.
Okay,
anything over 2, they send you to the penitentiary.
So regardless of what your crime was, if you get sentenced to 2 years in a day, then you're going to the.
You're gone.
Is it called federal penitentiary?
I think maybe provincial.
Okay, because I don't.
Yeah, it would be the province.
In America, in America, it's a federal penitentiary, so I don't.
They probably have the equivalent to that too. I would.
Okay, and
you have to commit a. No, you would have to commit a federal crime to go to a federal penitentiary.
Well, yeah, but
I think it's just provincial.
You go to a state penitentiary if you commit a state crime.
Okay, and then so your fraud stuff wasn't on a federal level; it was just kind of like a local thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fraud at that time, luckily, it wasn't as serious. Now they've like in the last 2 years, they've amped up.
Gotcha.
Which is just so ironic.
Okay, so you do so when you get into your first stint in prison and you got 6 months in, you're obviously withdrawing all that kind of stuff. Did you come out of that 6 months clean?
I was on high. They jack you on high doses of methadone, right?
Okay.
Do you guys have that in the States? Methadone Suboxone?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
So like I knew I didn't want to get clean. I was fucking mad, and I wasn't done yet. You know, like
I know that feeling.
Yeah, like I'm not fucking going out this way.
Yeah. Took me 4 times. So
yeah, I was in like okay. So then like when like I got little petty things like getting caught with identity documents on me, like boosting.
What's an identity document?
Like someone else's driver's license or ID or credit card.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
anything that's not in your name.
Yeah, there's just
identity fraud.
Yeah. I'm just clarifying for people that don't know the Canadian lingo. And I'm surprised you haven't said A yet. Okay, like what the fuck, Jeremy?
Yeah, we would have lost our own bets.
Like we made a bet that you
if I said what?
A.
Oh, A.
Hey, you know, like I got a friend in Canada, and like all the time when I talk to Paul, he's like, "What's up, eh?" Like,
oh yeah, you know, I don't know. I don't do that.
Okay, it's all good. It's all good. We just Mike and I had this little thing. Like how long? I'm like 2 minutes, and he'll say "eh," and so I would have lost had we bet. Good thing I didn't bet.
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
It's all good.
I can if you want, eh?
No.
But yeah, so like the first couple times I got arrested, put in city cells. Like they give you bail or the next day because it's your first thing. So they kept giving me bail, and then they're like, okay, you need to show up at court on this date. And I of course never showed up because I was on the streets. Right. And it was like by the 8th time they started to be like, all right, like you're not getting it, and they start actually remanding you, and then your stays get longer at North Fraser, like a week, and then maybe a month, and they hope it gets traction, but I didn't.
How soon was it before the inmates started telling you what you were involved in that you did not know until you got in there?
The whole time, like I didn't know officially. I still was that stupid. And I had like some friends that I made friends with there that were like, Jeremy, you're a idiot, man. This guy's playing you. He drives your car when he wants. He comes over to your house when he wants. You give him money. Like he's using you. You're like, get your head out of your ass. I was like, no. Like, there's no way. Like, I was such a stupid idiot.
But that's the thing. Like, you were blinded by it, right? This guy conned you. This whole scenario. I mean, you were taking advantage.
This is how these things happen.
Right.
Yeah. It's the most powerful deception tool is get them in love with you. I was like, wow.
The sociopaths, right? The sociopaths are the one that can manipulate any situation, and especially narcissists, like you talked about. Definitely a dark personality. There's a book out about dark personalities. I don't know if you've if you've ever read that, but it's a really good book to read because it kind of helps you understand the people you deal with on a day-to-day basis, because it helps me anyway, because I deal with a lot of people all the time. So it kind of like, oh, that's who that person is. That's why he acts that way, because he's that narcissistic and needs this. He's a vampire. He wants to suck everything out of out of the relationship for his benefit. And then once that's gone, it's like, I'm out. So it kind of sounds like both of your love interests, unfortunately, were dark personality, vampire type people that were bleeding you dry, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Mike?
we just read that statistic the other day that said there's only 20% of the population that's capable of critical thinking. So it's real easy to see how people get wrapped up in things.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you don't learn how to be a critical thinker until something like this happens to you, right?
Yeah. Well, in my mom, like I have a good relationship with my mom, and I would call her, and I caught him cheating, and I'd call her bawling, devastated and stuff. Like, I'm not a stupid man, and that's the other thing I
had
like
those
to make
same
a point.
conversations with my mother.
Yeah,
Thank God for
my
your
mom
mother.
was like, "What are you doing?" And I had like camera footage of him, like even like who has access to your safe? Well, only he did. So who do you think took the money? Like, come on. And I'd be like, you know.
Okay,
No.
so we're talking with Jeremy Cross at jeremycross.ca. He's got a book out called Finding My Lost Life, the fall to addiction and the rise to recovery. Very interesting stories so far. Don't forget to find us online, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Drop a review. Give us a follow on all platforms. And you can listen to guests like this over and over again. We're also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all those fun little platforms. So let's kind of just like put what we've talked about in a nutshell real quick, and then we'll continue. So you're in Canada, you moved to Vancouver to kind of, big city life type thing. You met this guy. It's like, that's it. He's my end all, everything. The sun rises and sets with him. He ends up getting you turned on to drugs and shit, which then your life kind of starts crumbling, falling apart. Yeah, you kind of ended up getting away from him, and meet this other guy who basically sought you out as he's a stalker, not a stalker, but you're a mark, like you said, right? And,
Mark, yeah.
And so then he takes you down this horrific path and actually turns you into the police. It's a whole Netflix documentary scene that's going to be epic when it gets filmed. I'm thinking like, I don't know, somebody badass needs to do this shit, just make it big, like Miami Vice type thing, right?
That's the dream.
Right? And Mike and I can be the extras, dude. I can totally act. I've been in all kinds of plays and shit and movies. So, we can be extras in the bar. We'll be the band in the bar one night that you come into the bar with the guy, and we'll be rocking on stage.
There you go.
And then you spent 6 months in what we're gonna equate in America as like a county jail, not a prison type thing. You get out of there and you're picking up the pieces, but even you're still mad, you're still angry, you're still getting high. That kind of didn't sway you at all. So you're still kind of going down this dark lifestyle.
Well, and I was devastated, and then fentanyl. I trauma bonded with fentanyl at that point.
Okay.
Like it was my crutch. Like I was so broken and lost that I needed the fentanyl to get through the day, because it was my suppression tool.
I can relate 100%, man.
Yeah, like I needed it. I didn't want to lock eyes with the past. I didn't want to lock eyes with the reality.
Yeah.
And I felt stupid and
Very
used and abused and guilty. And I was killing my family. My mom was devastated. I disappeared. Like it was such a big ball of, I was friggin' homeless. How did I'm living on the street. I'm sleeping on buses and sky trains. I'm getting fucking attacked. I'm getting kidnapped and held at gunpoint. I'm in SROs, which are government funded buildings that have rats and people getting killed. Like, how am I here?
And all this is in the book?
Yeah.
Okay, because the kidnapping gunpoint stuff's in the book?
Yeah.
Right on. See, this is gonna be a fucking great read. I'm not making light of the situation, but I have personal experience with addiction, not only from my alcoholism, but I had somebody in the family who was addicted to heroin and meth. And I kind of kept, and I kind of kept saying, hey, you need to write your story, because my connection was it was a younger person in my family. I'm like, you need to write this from the standpoint of how old you were when it started, because the education you can provide to future parents of understanding. Dude, when we discovered it was so easy to get heroin, you had $20, you got black tar heroin. I mean, and I'm talking,
still is probably easier,
right? A nice suburban neighborhood, just the furthest thing you would have thought of. And I dropped this video, and last I saw it, it was like 120 some odd thousand things on Facebook Live, and I would have random people come up to me and just, oh my God, you're that guy. Thank you so much. You made me have a conversation with my son or my daughter. You woke us up. So what you're doing, I absolutely 100% applaud you, especially because where you want to go with it, and just take it to the level where everybody's being educated and learning from your experience, which again, Finding My Lost Life, The Fall to Addiction, and The Rise to Recovery. The like Mike talked about earlier, and everybody that's listening, just Google it right now because you're going to be blown away because it is. A picture tells a picture is worth 1,000 words, right? Is that the word? Is that the saying?
That's it.
And looking at this, I mean, you're ripped. You got a 6-pack. You're in great shape. You got some biceps, triceps. You look like you're fucking cut, like an athlete. Yet you have this entire darkness around you that if you look at that, nobody would expect it.
Yeah, like even I put a filter on. I created the cover of the book, and I put a filter that covered my eyes and stuff. Like it was dark and mysterious.
Yeah, I like it
because
I do too.
Yeah, thank you. There's been a lot of mixed reviews on that,
but black and white is such dramatic on its own, and then when you have the context of what the book's about, that just, I mean, to me, that would make me, if I'm walking in the store and it's in a, you can see it, I'd pick that up and turn it over and read the back page, just the back of the book, just to see what that's about, because
well, and true stories are a big thing right now. Everyone loves a true story.
Your back page is very well written too. It would make me want to buy the book had you not been coming on here. Had he just said, "Hey, you should probably check this guy out," I would have bought the book for sure.
Yeah, cool. I appreciate that. And to comment on the parents thing, so what I'm really passionate about now in my life and the work I'm doing, I've been a public speaker at a group, Parents Forever, that had over 300 parents, and I just did like 4 hours of questions and answers because of what I put my mom through. And of course, we were uneducated too. She was like, "Holy fuck, do I go kidnap him? Do I go just like force him somewhere
My
if
mom
I had the money?" Or is this my fault? Like, what the fuck do I do? And I want to take that, because a lot of I did a book signing, a launch at Chapters Indigo, and I had mums that came up to get my book signed, and they had lost kids to addiction, and they just disappeared. And so that's my other thing, like, it's to unburden them, to be like, you could have done nothing. It's up to the addict, that they need to break the change and go to chains, from chains to change. That's you couldn't have done anything more.
That was
and a lot of them don't get that.
To me, was to be able to have that moment with my mom, for sure. There's probably nothing more important in my life other than being alive than to be able to have that moment and, just look her in the eyes and say, you didn't do anything.
Yeah, it killed me. She'd come and visit me all the time in jail, and I fucking, I will never forget it. And I write about her in the book a lot. Like she was so instrumental. Like I always was able to call her. I'd call her from random businesses anytime. Like she would order Panago pizza at the nearest Vancouver location. I could go pick it up. I know I put her through hell. I called her starving and freezing on the streets, and like she knew at this time there's nothing she could do, and I knew it fucking just crippled her. And I had a lot of guilt and shame with that.
Me too,
but
man.
The best thing she's ever said to me was, "I fucking love you so much. I'll never leave you. But while you're living this life, and this is my other thing, healthy boundaries. Like, if you have a loved one going through addiction, you're going to bring yourself down with them. It's better to have healthy boundaries. Never tell them you'll never leave them. And the minute you want help, I'll come flying in. But until then, if you're going to go down this road, I have to love you from afar."
I think that's a message that you made abundantly clear through your Facebook campaign that I remember hearing from you, Chris.
Oh yeah. Oh, and that's the biggest thing that
That was very well said, Jeremy, and that's super important for parents to hear.
We my wife and I, we both realized that the person I referenced earlier, it wasn't our fault. Like my approach to sobriety and alcoholism, when I finally had the wake up call and then woke up the next morning, oh shit, something's got to change, right? And then 2 days later is when I started my AA journey. My first meeting at AA was, everybody's like, oh, by the grace of God and the higher power, things like that. And I was like, God didn't make me drink. God's not going to make me stop. God didn't put that beer in my hand and that shot of Jack and say, hey, Chris, don't just have one, have 20 beers, and don't just have one shot, have 5, right? This is me. I'm responsible for my own.
I think that's also a super important message for people to hear, and I love when you say that, because that truer words couldn't be spoken. We all three lived the same thing. We made the choice to do everything we did, and we had to make the choice to save ourselves as well.
Right, because we all know from an addict standpoint, I can tell you, Jeremy, you're an addict all day long. You're going to tell me, fuck off, Chris. I'm not. I don't have a problem. I'm good, man. My wife was a bartender, right, at 2 different bars. I wouldn't listen to her when she told me I had a problem, because I don't have a problem. You know what she's talking about. I can handle my beer just fine, right? I can handle my booze. I'm good. Meanwhile, adding water to the Scott vodka in the outside freezer so she doesn't realize I'm sucking, off the bottle. And then you have a party and half the bottle's frozen. Like, well, I don't know how that happened because I'm sitting there hitting the bottle, right? So it's the ignorance, and it's the lies you tell yourself as an addict that I don't have a problem, and then like you can equate to, and Mike can, and so can I, that once you get clean and once you're cleaning your life up, then all of a sudden you get the guilt coming back, right? You get the shame coming back. And then you got to live with all that shit. You got to work through all that stuff, which I'm sure the book itself is very cathartic for you and very therapeutic for you to get through your entire journey from there to now.
Chronologically.
Right.
Yeah, no, it was a great step 4 to 6, like admitting to your wrongs and wrongdoings and personal inventory to someone else. Like I did that globally, and like I can't press how important that, I'm someone who's in AA and NNA. I also work at a recovery center, and I'm a certified peer support worker now, and I work with other families and addicts. And it's important. You have to make the change. I mean, when it comes, I get a lot of people like the whole, even for me, I had reservations with the whole God word. Like that was big for me.
Yeah.
But as you read the big book, like when you actually read the first 4 testaments and stuff like that, like the God that they talk about in the book isn't the big guy in the clouds. It's your higher power, your spirituality, your universalness. And luckily I got the gift of desperation the final time. My aha moment, you would think, well, I mean, I should have hit it so many times, but my final one
moments, dude.
was this last time in jail, and my mom would always come see me in jail, and she was getting a little bit older, and like I had joined Bible study in AA because I had the gift of desperation where I can't fucking do this anymore, like the addict mind. The last 4 years I've been in a jail, I'm like, oh, maybe if I do it this way,
dude.
Yeah,
I love that term.
Which term?
Gift of desperation.
It's such a gift, like, because I was fucking on my knees, like, I cannot do this anymore. I thought every time I would tell myself I can, and maybe if I don't do this, or I don't associate with this guy, or I only do gold in this area, or like that addict mind, right? When I finally was like, I can't do this, I need another solution. And that's when I read the big book. It really resonated with me, and I found I had that psychic moral change, and I had my higher power come in, and I was able to do the work. Because I understood no human power.
Jimmy Cross, ladies and gentlemen. Jimmy Cross, go buy his book, Finding My Lost Life, The Fall to Addiction and the Rise to Recovery. Dude, your story's fascinating. I love it. So let's because I don't want to give away all the book stuff, right? Because I want people to go read your book because you okay. So, you're out after your 6-month thing. Did you end up going back? Did you end up getting incarcerated again? Or was that the time? Okay, so that...
Yeah, because then you get on probation, and I wasn't showing up.
Okay, so walk us through that. So you're out, you're living on the streets, the chaos is still going on in your life, and then what's the next thing that leads you to be incarcerated for a second time?
So, like, I got a 2-year probation order after that, and, like, you don't have a phone, you're homeless now, okay?
Right.
You're not meeting your probation officer every month or every 2 weeks, I think. As soon as you miss a month worth, you get an instant bench warrant.
Okay.
In Canada, and
bench warrants are the same at Canada, United States.
Yeah.
Boom. It's
your face is on all the police. Yeah, you're wanted.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and people at this point now, the fraud squad knew who I was. I was getting, at this point, I now knew how to do fraud. And then I couldn't obviously escort because I was on fentanyl. So, and everything. But for me, like, it was interesting.
Probably a really good decision not escorting anymore. Just saying.
Yes. Just saying. Yeah. Ironically, I have to say, I was pretty surprised. Like, I don't know if I was different because I've always wanted to help people. But like when I had clients, like I had great little mini relationships with them because I like actually talked to them and we like socialized. It wasn't sex all like I barely actually had to have sex with these people. They were just like lonely old men that just wanted somebody to talk to.
Yeah, you come across as somebody like that that's very, very giving and very you got some charisma about you.
Easy to talk to for sure.
You got a really good presence. So I
appreciate that.
I could see, I mean, because we don't know you from Adam. This is the first time we've ever met you. I mean, literally, we messaged last night, I think. And here we are, not even.
That's a cool thing about doing this, man. It's just to hear these, like, I didn't know that I was going to hear this story 10 hours ago when I went to work. It's fascinating. Right. It really is.
I messaged, hey, dude, I got a guy.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And then I read the back of your book, and I'm like, oh, now I really want to talk to him. That's awesome.
And see,
Cool.
I like going in blind because then I learn as I go, and then that entices me to want to do more. So
it is fun.
Yeah,
for sure.
because I like to throw the softballs and learn, because then you have the real reaction from me and from Mike. Really,
it's organic. Yeah.
Yeah, because we do this because we like the human interest of life. We like helping champion recovery. We had a guy on that I knew his sister since I was 6 years old, that his first joint was at 6 years old, man. Right? His parents
grew
were
up with parents that were hippies.
Yeah, 6 years old. And so his story was just fascinating. And I knew a piece of it. And then for him to just for lack of a better term, just throw up everything in our 60-minute show, because he did it while I was on lunch. Mind-boggling, man. My grandson's 5.5 years old. I can't imagine a little man smoking a joint.
That's when it puts it into perspective. Is when you're like, we're 20 years older than you, so Chris has a grandson that's almost the same age as when this guy smoked his first joint.
Yeah, it's wild. Well, and that's also a big message in my book. Like, addiction doesn't discriminate. I didn't have addiction problems. Nope. My parents are not addicts, and fucking took me like a disease that, like I was gone. Didn't matter what I was taught or learned.
Same for me, man. I grew up in a very similar household to you, where, that didn't happen in my house. My parents weren't alcoholics. They weren't drug addicts. They went to work every day like, what society would consider normal human beings. So that's a great message too. It doesn't discriminate. Addiction
and we're all one
it's
circumstance away from, making people, before judging, like, hear the story. I've met many people that, you have no idea how you'd handle that circumstance when you lose your mom, your dad, or you get your fucking whole life turned upside down. You have no idea.
You don't.
And I think that's important. Also a big message in my book. Like, I have a couple messages, and that's a really big one too. And also, like, there's no, at my time, there was no like book or rule book or mentor to teach me how to survive on the streets and be an addict. And also even what peer support was like. I never had, like, that just started being big here in the last 2 years.
Really?
Certified peer support. Yeah, it was not a thing. And now, Fraser Health, Vancouver Coastal Health, like all these big companies are now seeing how valuable, because even when I was in addiction and I wasn't, I went through getting disability, and like you get like these professionals, and I'd get like a counselor in front of me that's an addictions counselor that's never been an addict. I was like, fuck off.
We talked about that too. With
it's like having a marriage counselor that's never been married.
Thank you.
What?
You just proved our point from the episode he was talking about, with the guy who had,
I was like, get out of here. You can't possibly understand.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Amazing. Again, it's Jeremy Cross, jeremycross.ca. Go find his book, Finding My Lost Life, The Fall to Addiction and the Rise to Recovery. So we're about an hour into this little episode here today, which is fascinating, by the way. Don't forget, boys and girls, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Drop a review. Give us a follow on all platforms. And coming soon, thechrisandmikeshow.com.
Woo!
Don't go there. Don't go there now, because GoDaddy's just parking that shit. So, how many times were you incarcerated total?
Like remanded, or like just arrested in general?
Well, what's remanded in your world? Is remanded being in the lockdown facility?
Yeah, it's like when you get arrested, you go to city cells, get processed, held overnight, and then you see a judge there, and they decide if they'll let you out or you're going to be remanded.
Well, you can give us all of them. You can give us a total of both. That's fine.
I don't have like the exact totals, but I can tell you I've been to city cells probably 15 or 16 times. I've been remanded 3 or 4.
And this was in a span of 7 years.
No, a span of 4. 2020 is when I started getting in trouble.
Okay, and you've been
and a lot of it was just violating probation. So like when I got out of jail for that stunt, and then I was like had conditions, right? Wasn't allowed to have identity documents, needed to report to my probation, and I just kept. I never did any of them. So it was a warrant, and I kept getting arrested. Right. So it wasn't necessarily that I was getting caught doing all this crime. Like it was just a reoffend with these conditions. Yeah.
Okay.
So
let's take it to this point of your life. I want to know what the piece was that turned you the epiphany. Like, what is it that you woke up one day and was like, this is it. This is my sign from whatever you want to call it. I need to turn my life around, or else I'm going to die. What was that moment?
That was this last time in jail. My sister is a spiritual healer too, and she's the one, we were going back and forth in jail via mail, and she said, you should just write your story chronologically. And like back when this shit was going down and terrible things would happen, I would always in my head be like, I'm gonna fucking write about this one day if I can ever get out of this thing alive. So that was a seed I planted, and then my sister said, like, just for therapeutic reasons, like, chronologically get it out. And I also wanted to do an amends to my whole family, explaining all the words that have gone left unsaid because they didn't know any of the shit that was going on. They couldn't understand. They thought it was a choice. It didn't make sense. Right. So I wrote them a 32-page amends letter on top of and I started writing my book, and then the epiphany, like I joined the Bible study, and there was like 50-year-old men, 60-year-old men that were like, no family. They given their whole life to fentanyl, and I'm like, that's gonna be me if I don't get my shit together. Like I'm gonna fucking die in here.
And that was and that's why you were incarcerated.
Yeah, and then my mom was getting older. She'd visit me, and I'm like, my little brothers have graduated. Like, I'm fucking missing everything.
You're missing life events. Yeah, okay.
Because, like, when you're down there, you're in a time warp. You have no conception of time or the date. I didn't know what fucking day of the week it was. Like, but then when I get arrested, it was like this reality check that life has been going on around. Yeah. And I'm missing everything. And
that's amazing, though, because how many people did you see around you that didn't even look at that side of it? Like, that's going to be me, that were your age. They were just going to continually live the same lifestyle, right? Good on you for seeing, hey, that old man over there in the corner, that's going to be me. Not everybody has that moment.
You can't look past the end of your face,
Correct.
Especially addicts, because with an addict, your next thing is, how am I going to get high? How am I going to get that beer? Where am I going to get the money for that, this and that? Mike, our friend Mike that was on, that had the joint when he was 6 years old, his wake-up call was he was in prison, and he was on the yard, and he saw this group of guys doing yoga. And he just, that was his moment where he went and joined them with yoga. And from that point on, he's like you. He's turned his life around. He's helps now with, he's addiction recovery counselor. He's very fit. He's very focused on spreading the word. And like we talked about earlier, when you're an addict, you want to sit in front of an addict to give you advice of how to not be an addict. There's, like you said, there's
different respect.
There's no dummy's guide to being an addict. nobody wrote that book. This is how to survive the streets. I
always say two things, man. Like, you're talking to two guys that you can't bullshit, right? And there's always, that's one thing. Like you said it earlier, that's one thing that people just shouldn't talk about if you haven't been there, right? Because you couldn't possibly have an idea, right?
Yeah. Well, the two pillars of getting certified in peer work is mutuality and relatability.
Okay. Yeah.
Which is dead on. Like I said, I wouldn't want a divorce counselor that's never been married. It just wouldn't. You can't get it, right?
Right.
And I had that experience when I got a transition team leader and a peer support when I got out of jail in May. And the way I could connect with him, I'm like, I want that for somebody else. I want to be you.
Yeah.
And I went and got certified right away. I take clients solely. I work with families. I do any public speaking I can do. I now currently work at a Together recovery center 5 days a week.
You want to share the recovery center's information? Because what we do when we're done with this show, Mike goes in and edits everything down. We end up having a bunch of shorts, and we can splice the shorts, and we'll send you the shorts so you can do what you want with them. But if you want to give a shout out to where you work in the recovery center, we can make sure that's one of the shorts.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, the big one I do is my solo peer support by Jeremy Cross. You can book with me on my website. You can also contact me. I get contacted all the time at the bottom of my website. You can ask me any questions about anything. Okay. I've been asked by the local school district here to go and talk to kids in school about addiction. I'm just trying to do as much as I can. I'd like to see it be, like I said, a docu-series, because we're just in such a big opiate and mental health crisis.
Absolutely.
And the people hired, like, this is my other thing, like, and the reform in our system is fucking broken. I tried to use the system because I wanted help. So I was on the street. I didn't want to do it anymore. I went to a government detox center. They told me, no problem, but you need to call every day, and there's a 3.5 week wait list until a bed becomes available, and you can't go to a recovery center until you have 30 days of detox. So I was like, cool. So I guess I'll just go back to the street then.
That's exactly what they're telling you.
Yeah, I don't have a phone. I can't call you in every day and tell you I'm serious about getting out of here. Like the system is, and you gotta wonder, like, so is this, out of all the resources and money that we have, like, is this like a premeditated thing? Like, we could make this way smoother,
right?
And it could be way better.
Yes.
But then you gotta get, like, in my book, I also talk about, it's not us homeless junkies on the street that are getting the imported drugs from China. You have to have power, influence, importation, deportation. It's the higher ups. They need all of us to do the drugs. It all comes down to, it's like the pharmaceutical industry. It comes down to bottom line. It's all about money. They don't make money off healthy people.
Nope.
So
they don't.
That's my big thing too. I'm advocating, like, I think the people that are making the decisions with policies in the government of how to handle detox and recovery in this drug crisis have somebody who's actually been battling and in the trench.
Yes.
Because you guys are making decisions for things you don't understand.
Yep.
So that's another big thing I'm doing.
No, but that's awesome. So again, this is Jeremy Cross, jeremycross.ca, Finding My Lost Life, The Fall to Addiction and the Rise to Recovery. Check him out. It's online. Go buy his book. You're going to love it just from the sheer conversation that we're having. How long is the book? How many pages? So people know.
It's 180 pages.
Okay. And it basically starts when you're about 25 years old?
24, yeah.
Okay, 24 goes all the way to 31?
Yeah, it's all these horrific events I talk about. Sorry, go ahead.
How long has it been out? When did you publish it?
November 2024. It's only been 6 months.
Okay, so you mentioned earlier, you made reference that you got out in May. So you got out in May of 24?
Yeah.
Okay, so you were, how long was that last incarceration?
A month or 5 months. I got arrested January, released May.
Okay, cool. So then after you got out in May, then you started putting all the pieces of your puzzles together and
digitalized it. And then I was looking at how to publish it. I ended up self-publishing on Amazon, and which I'm glad I did because I had 2 professional editors like that. I have my old history AP 12 teacher, Miss Wendy Cook. She's incredible. She's a retired superintendent now. She offered to do it. Okay. And then my best friend Kelsey had an uncle, same thing, superintendent on the Vancouver Island. He offered. Okay. And I got approached by different traditional companies and stuff, but then they'd send me their contracts, and like a lot of them be like, self-publishing, you're not, take the book deal, we'll offer you $10,000 and then we'll give you 40% royalty. Like, take this, you're not going to get far. And I'm glad I said no, because I've already made about 20,000. Nice. And I've already gotten into like news articles. I've been in the local paper, CTV Vancouver.
Yep.
That's awesome. Congratulations, by the way. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I would.
That's a huge accomplishment.
I sometimes forget how big of a deal, like, being like I published a book. Like,
well, now that you just told your story, think about how far you've come right now. I do that all the time. Anytime I'm getting down on myself, I remember how far down I really was. It's like, man, you're just having a shit day. Your life's not falling apart, right?
Right.
Everything's okay.
And as you become a listener to our show, you'll hear that every time we wrap the show up, we talk about, don't let the bad days win. Somebody loves you, somebody wants to see you the next day. You're gonna, today's just a day. Don't let this day, be the end result of your entire life, because that sucks.
Yeah, 100%. It's been, I'm so proud of myself, and I know I help other people, and I tell, like, it's beautiful up here. It's a battle to get in recovery, but it's better, at least when you're battling addiction, it gets darker. If you're battling in recovery, it gets brighter. So, and it's beautiful from up here where I am, and I just want to help people get to where I am and be that tangible evidence. Like, I have before and after photos of me, like in my book, like when I was 80 pounds, like just skin and bone. Awesome. And then there's me now, like, to be that beacon of hope. Like, listen, I was on the street, I was hopeless, I was helpless, I accept the fact I'd die. Like, I have been where you are, and I'm telling you, there is a way to get out. If you want to, if you seek, it'll be sought. Like, and I'll help you. There's tons of people out there that will want to give you what we have and show you the way. You just have to have that courage and bravery, and it's possible. Yeah.
Now, the picture on the book was that back when before you started your whole chaos, or is this a recent photo?
On the front of the book?
Yeah.
No, that was after the first guy, and I lived alone escorting.
Okay. So I just want to put perspective on that. So,
like, this picture, that one is when I got out of jail.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Right on.
And I have lots on my website. I have lots of photos of me now, and my readers and stuff.
And it's Jeremy Cross is with us. It's jeremycross.ca. It's Finding My Lost Life, the Fall to Addiction and the Rise to Recovery. This is the Chris and Mike Show. He's Chris, I'm Mike. He's Jeremy. So what do you want to, let's leave our listeners with something that what would you, if you had a room, because you've done this all the time, so you have a room of addicts who are just like, yeah, fuck off, I don't have a problem. What would you say to them? Let's wrap the show up like that. What is a message you would want to share with somebody that doesn't think there's any hope?
Great question.
Their entire life is just staring down the barrel of a proverbial shotgun because they keep shooting up every day, and they're homeless, they're hopeless, they have nowhere to go, they feel completely distraught and despair. What would you tell them?
It's interesting that you say that. I had an old friend of mine, a young, she's 24 years old. She's an alcoholic, addict. She's tried to take her life within the last week. And this just was brought to my attention. I was called by the family who I went to school with, and they know what I do, to try to host intervention. And I literally just had this conversation with that girl on the phone after she was hospitalized. And I said to her, and I would say to anybody like that you just said, I would be like, I get it. Like, I didn't want to be here. I was hopeless. I didn't think I'd get out. I didn't want to get out because I could not fathom, even the start of the healing process to have to lock eyes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Don't give in to this addiction. Don't give addiction your life. Like, you're fucking stronger than that. You're better than that. Like I said, I was there. I was looking down the shotgun of a barrel too. Like, I get it, but it's beautiful from up here, and I want that for you. It's possible, just let me help you. Let people that have been there help you, and don't give in to this disease. Like, right now you're also I'd said to her, what in AA we learned this, what this disease is for people to understand the qualifications of this disease is the disease is if it affects you mentally and physically. Okay. The mentally is the insanity part. You're not thinking straight. I overdosed 7 times, and I literally got right out of the hospital to go get the drug that just killed me, which is insanity. We're not thinking right. And the physical part is the allergy. We cannot do drugs and drink like other people, and that's okay. And you're exactly like me. I can't casually, recreationally do it. I'll be fucking gone for weeks or months or die. And that's okay. So you have the disease. You're not thinking right, and it's affecting you right now. And we can get you past this. We can work with you. I would just absolutely say that recovery is possible. And that is my whole baseline. Like, I have been there. You can see photos of me, and I'll help you through it. Like, don't give in. Like, you're stronger than that. You're better than this, man. Like, fuck this disease. Fuck addiction. It doesn't have that power. And don't give it that power. Don't surrender.
3 examples right here. Talking to each other, right?
And that's why the more exposure, I love what you guys are doing, and having guests and letting them share your story. I have so much respect for you and the thing that you guys are doing.
We have a few different messages. Thank you for saying that. But this is one that's near and dear to our heart, because we wouldn't be sitting here talking to you, and you wouldn't be talking to us if we had not all made that choice. So
exactly.
Congratulations to you too on your sobriety, and
Absolutely.
Remember how good you feel now and how bad you felt then. That's what I always remember.
Yeah, it's what keeps me sober. When people ask me that, I said the idea of having to withdraw. Yeah, and I feel good, and I have no desire to escape. And that's the other thing about this whole recovery thing, and I'm trying to push this on people. Like, you need to heal. Like, you have been destroyed and broken and scarred and traumatized during your addiction. It's going to take time, and it's not just being
the scary
sober.
Part when you're in the middle of it.
Right. And
it's going to take time, and that part scares you.
Totally, because we all want that quick fix, like, and that's the addict mind. But like what people don't understand, and I try to, this is one of the big things I'm trying to teach people, is recovery is not just sobriety. Recovery, being off drugs and alcohol is one little tiny part, really. The second part is the healing. You have to heal. You have to fix yourself. Like, I thought I had a drug problem, but I had a Jeremy problem. I was fucking broken.
Me too.
And
As
so,
was I.
I just want to like share that message with people, and I want to just like really, really push, like, it's not just getting off the drugs.
Right.
Get some trauma therapy, get some
Mm-hmm.
get a peer support worker, like like, heal, do the steps, do your inventories, do it all.
Yeah.
Because, you're less prone to relapse because you're fixing that neural pathway that is that escape fuck it button. We got to get rid of that.
Yeah. We should. Hey, he's Jeremy Cross, jeremycross.ca. Go find his book and buy it. It's Finding My Lost Life, The Fall to Addiction and Rise to Recovery. He's an amazing human. We just met him, and dude, if I could give you a hug, I would give you a hug.
Absolutely. Just, virtual hug, brother.
Because it's just, I mean, Mike and I are so appreciative of people that share their stories because, again, we both come from that world, and when I stopped drinking, all my friends at the time, they kind of laughed at me and said, "Oh, you'll never last," and I lost all my friends because
you find out they weren't your friends.
Right. Yeah. It goes back to that dark psychology and the vampire personalities, things like that. So, again, thank you so much for coming on today. Again, one more time, it's jeremycross.ca, and that's JEREMY. CROSS.ca. .ca is because he's in Canada, even though it doesn't say A. Go get his book. This was just a little piece of his life, and we would love to have you back on. A year. Or so
let me
from
get
now.
your book and let me read it.
Yeah,
and
that'd be cool.
And
then
we'll have
come
you
back on and talk
I'm
about
sure
it.
I'll have 100 questions after that for sure.
And
sure.
And that's why I kind of prevented you from giving all the details because I want people to go read your book.
Yes, please go get his book. This has been amazing. I thank you too for coming on and having the courage to tell your story, and you did it very well. And I think there's a lot of important information out there for people. So
thank you guys. I appreciate that.
Very eloquent, Jeremy.
Yes.
And remember, as we always wrap up with this, don't let the bad days win. Every addict's broken, as we just kind of alluded to, but there is somebody there that's going to miss you if you're gone. So don't do that. Reach out for help. If you're in Canada, go to jeremycross.ca, and there's a link down on the thing. You can talk to him. He can help you get out of your darkness, right? Because
amen.
You want to talk about darkness?
Amen.
Man? Jeremy's been in the darkness.
Yeah, you beat my story, man. I always tell people you're on parallel. You win. You win, brother.
Thanks.
You win for sure. Nothing but love, man. Appreciate you being on. Definitely want to have you back.
Yes.
Keep doing all the wonderful things you're doing. We're going to post your stuff on our Facebook page and our Instagram page once the show airs. Mike breaks it all down, so once we figure that out, we'll let you know. I'll keep in contact with you 100%, and then going to look forward to watching your journey, man, watching you grow.
Sounds good.
You're a good human. I appreciate it very much.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Back at you guys.
All right, you guys. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.
See you guys.
Peace, brother.
There you go.
man. You took your breath on the Almighty's hand. You got a dream in your life to keep on soaring every night. Take the trip behind your eyes. Feel the soul revolution night. Yeah, 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 yeah. Take a moment.